Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to a space of revelation where truth begins to unfold like a story from another world. I'm honored to have you join me on this journey, a journey that will open your eyes to forces you may have never imagined, forces that have been at play in your life for far longer than you could possibly understand. You see, there is a truth hidden in plain sight. It is not a truth meant to be feared or ignored, but one that will awaken a deep sense of purpose in you. A truth that when fully realized can change everything. In fact, everything about who you are, who you have been, and who you are destined to become could be rewritten by the story we are about to unravel together. And it all begins right now. I invite you with open arms to lean into this moment. The universe in all its mysterious and complex glory has brought you to this very point in time. What you're about to hear isn't just any ordinary tale. No, my friend, this is the story about you. This is a story about the mark you carry, the invisible seal placed upon your life long before you even realized it. Imagine a world that exists just beyond your perception, a realm where dimensions overlap, where the seen and unseen are interwoven. In this world, there are forces greater than you can fathom, and there are beings powerful and ancient that rule over the fabric of existence. These forces and beings may seem far removed from your daily life, but they are not. They are closer than you think, and they have been watching you, guiding you, even when you weren't aware of it. Now I want you to take a deep breath. Hold on to that sense of curiosity and trust, because I'm about to tell you a story that will forever alter the way you perceive yourself and your place in this vast universe. Close your eyes for a moment, if you will. Picture this you as you are, with all your dreams, all your pain, all the moments that have shaped you into who you are today. But now imagine that there's something more about you than you realize, something that others, perhaps even those closest to you, may never understand. This something is not visible to the naked eye. It's not something that can be touched or measured in any ordinary way. But it's real, very real. It's a mark, a divine seal placed upon your soul, invisible to all but the most discerning eyes. It's a mark that protects you, strengthens you, and guides you. And as you read these words, I want you to know something profoundly important. You have been chosen. In fact, this mark, this protection is so powerful that even the forces of darkness, forces that seek to destroy, manipulate, and control, have no power over you. The very forces that fear nothing in this world and the next were forced to acknowledge the protection you carry. I know it may sound unbelievable, but stick with me. You see, what I'm about to reveal is something that most people will never know, and those who do are often too afraid to speak of it. But you, my friend, you are different. You've arrived at a time when the veil between the spiritual and the physical world is thinner than ever. You're standing on the threshold of an extraordinary revelation. What I'm about to share will shatter any illusions you may have had about who truly protects you and why you're so deeply valued in the eyes of the universe. But before I continue, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like something or someone was watching over you? Perhaps you have sensed an invisible force protecting you during difficult times, guiding you when you felt lost, or helping you find the strength to carry on when the world seemed dark. This isn't coincidence. This is the mark you carry, the mark of divine protection that has been placed on your life long before you ever understood its significance. And the story we are about to unfold is the key to understanding why, despite the struggles and trials you've faced, you are still here. You're still standing and you're still moving forward because of that very mark. This is not a story about superstition or myth. It's not about fairy tales or ancient legends. No, this is a story rooted in deep cosmic truth, a truth that has been operating over your life without your conscious awareness, a truth that even the darkest forces on this earth must respect. So my friend, I ask you to stay with me. Don't look away, don't turn your attention to distractions or trivial concerns. The universe has aligned this moment for you, and what you're about to learn will reveal a hidden power within you that you may not have even known existed. Trust in the process. Trust that the revelation of your true identity and purpose will unfold before you in ways that will leave you in awe. This is not just a story, it's your story. A story about divine protection, about spiritual evolution, and about the extraordinary mark that you carry, a mark that even the forces of darkness fear to touch. Are you ready? Let's begin. As the darkness of the night grew heavier, something far more ancient than human understanding began to stir in the unseen world. It was 3:33 a.m., the time when the veil between the physical and spiritual realms is thinnest, when the whispers of the cosmos can be heard more clearly, and when decisions made in the mortal world can have consequences far beyond what we can comprehend. In the quiet of the night, a figure sat alone, hunched over in a dimly lit room. The desperate one, as I will call them, was restless, plagued by an obsession so deep it gnawed at their soul. They had tried everything in their power to regain control, to drag you back into their world, to make you need them again. But no matter how hard they tried, you had slipped away. You had evolved, risen to new heights far beyond their reach. And that to them was an unforgivable act. They had become consumed by jealousy, resentment, and an overwhelming need for domination. Your evolution, the very thing that once made you an equal, a partner, a friend, had turned them into something dark and twisted. The cracks in their psyche deepened with every passing day as they checked your profiles obsessively, searching for any sign of weakness, hoping to find a glimpse of your collapse. But each new image they saw of you only confirmed their worst fear. You were thriving without them, and it was that very realization that you were flourishing while they were left to wallow in their bitterness that pushed them to the edge. In a fit of rage, they decided to take matters into their own hands. If they couldn't win you back through manipulation, they would resort to something far darker, far more dangerous. They sought to summon forces beyond their comprehension, forces that should have remained untouched, relegated to the forgotten corners of history. In the dead of night, they searched for the answers they so desperately needed. Hidden deep within the shadowy corners of the internet, they found dark forums, rituals, and forbidden knowledge that promised power. They read the ancient words that should have never been spoken, traced symbols on the floor with their own blood, and set the stage for a ritual that could invoke forces they had no hope of controlling. And at the center of it all, your photo. They placed your image carefully at the center of a circle, the symbol of their obsession. Your face, just a photograph, to anyone else now, became a portal, a gateway to the spiritual forces they hoped would do their bidding. They whispered incantations, calling upon the Prince of Darkness, invoking the devil himself to bring you back to them or to destroy you entirely. Their heart raced as the air in the room grew heavy, and the air felt a presence begin to stir in the shadows. The room's temperature dropped dramatically, the heat sucked from the air as if the very energy of the universe was being drawn toward the ritual. The flames of the candles flickered and danced unnaturally, casting eerie purple and green shadows across the walls. A low, pulsing vibration filled the space, making the walls seem to tremble, the air thick and suffocating. A sulphurous smell, the unmistakable odour of decay, began to permeate the room, churning the stomachs of anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. It was then at that moment of pure dread that it happened. The devil appeared. Not in the form of horns and a pitchfork, not as the monstrous figure one might expect from old stories and films. No, this presence was something far worse, something far more terrifying. It was an ancient power, older than anything human minds could truly grasp, and it filled the room with an overwhelming sense of malice and danger. The desperate one froze, every muscle in their body locked in terror as they sensed the sheer weight of this entity's presence. Shadows twisted, unnaturally moving independent of any light, while the air itself seemed to thicken, making it harder to breathe. The devil did not appear in a singular physical form, but as an overwhelming presence, an intelligent force that filled the room. The eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light were filled with a malicious intelligence, the kind of malice that only centuries of malevolent existence could cultivate. And then the voice came. It didn't come from one place, it filled the room from all directions, resonating deep within their very bones. It was a voice that sent chills down the spine, a voice that echoed with infinite malice and power. "Do you dare invoke me, insignificant creature?" The words reverberated in the air, pressing down on the desperate one, suffocating them. The voice continued, filled with an irritation that was almost palpable. "You dare interrupt me for something as trivial as this?" The desperate one could barely speak. Their throat was tight, constricted by fear, but they had managed to croak out, pointing toward the photo in the center of the circle. "It's him," they stammered. "It's the person I want you to destroy. Bring them back. Or destroy them, I don't care." The room was silent, as if time itself had paused. Then the presence of the devil shifted. For a split second, a hesitation filled the air. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was there. A flicker of something in the atmosphere, a sudden wave of awareness that rippled through the room. The devil's attention turned toward the photo, and for the first time there was a pause, an almost imperceptible moment of shock. "Where did you get this image?" the voice thundered, the tone changing to one of deep surprise. The desperate one trembled, barely able to process what was happening. "It's just a normal photo," they whispered, a faint flicker of confusion in their voice. "It's just a normal person I dated." The devil's voice changed again, and this time it was laced with disdain. Normal. You have no idea what you've just done." A wave of terror passed over the room. The presence of the devil, previously so overwhelming, now shifted into something else entirely. Something akin to cautious respect, something almost fearful. For the first time in what felt like centuries, the devil was uncertain. And it was that uncertainty that terrified the desperate one more than anything else. The devil moved closer to the photo eyes, scanning it with a sudden reverence that felt completely out of place. "This one," the devil said slowly, "this one carries something I cannot touch." The atmosphere in the room had shifted. What had once been filled with dread and suffocating darkness was now thick with an unseen yet palpable tension. The desperate one stood frozen, their minds struggling to comprehend what was unfolding before them. They had invited the devil into their space, expecting power, control, and destruction, but instead they had awakened something much more powerful than they could have ever imagined. The devil, circling the room, now stood before the photo with a mixture of fascination and awe. His presence no longer bore the usual arrogance of a being accustomed to controlling every situation. Instead, there was a strange wariness in his posture, a hesitation that no mortal could have anticipated. The devil's voice, once filled with mocking laughter and threats, now carried a new weight. He spoke slowly, as though contemplating each word carefully. "This is not what I expected." He muttered more to himself than to the desperate one. "You've done something impossible, haven't you? You've brought me here to touch someone who carries a mark." The desperate one felt their heart race, but still they couldn't fully grasp what was happening. "A mark? What do you mean?" they stammered. The devil turned his gaze toward them, his eyes glowing with an ancient fear. "The mark of Cain," he said, his voice filled with a kind of reluctant recognition. "It's the first divine seal, a protection that cannot be violated. Even I must respect it." The desperate one recoiled, confusion and fear growing in their chest. Cain, the murderer. The devil's lips curled into something that could have been a smile, but it was a smile filled with bitter irony. Yes, the same Cain. The one who killed his own brother out of envy. But what you don't understand, what you cannot understand, is that the mark placed upon him wasn't a curse. It was a protection. A divine protection from the Creator himself. A chill ran down the desperate one's spine. "What do you mean you're saying this person, this one I've been trying to destroy, carries the same mark?" The devil's voice lowered, taking on a dark, almost reverent tone. Not just the mark of Cain, this one carries an evolved version of it, a version far more powerful than anything you or I could have ever anticipated. At this, the desperate one took a step back. They had never imagined that the person they had been obsessing over, the person they had tried so desperately to control and manipulate, could hold such power. They had assumed them to be weak, someone they could easily manipulate with enough effort, someone who would eventually return to their grasp. But now, faced with the truth of what this person truly carried, they realized they had underestimated them. And worse, they had underestimated the forces that were now protecting them. The devil paused, his voice taking on a dark, chilling quality. The mark of Cain is not just a symbol of punishment. No, it's a warning. A warning that anyone who dares to harm this person will pay 7 times the price. He turned to face the desperate one, his eyes now burning with a deeper, more dangerous intensity. 7 times. That's how powerful this mark is. That's how serious the protection is. The desperate one felt their knees weaken beneath them. The realization of what they had just attempted, invoking the devil himself to destroy someone marked by divine power, was beginning to hit them with the full force of its consequences. They had known that the Chosen One was special, but they had never imagined this kind of power. They had never considered that they might be walking into a trap far bigger than they could ever understand. The devil continued, his tone now ominous, as though he were sharing a dark secret. You think this mark is only about the past. You think it's about what Cain did, but it's not. It's about survival. It's about purity. You see this person, this one marked by the divine, they've passed through trials that would have destroyed anyone else. They've faced hunger that would have broken a lesser soul. They have experienced betrayal so brutal it should have shattered their spirit. And yet, instead of becoming corrupted, instead of succumbing to the darkness they evolved, the desperate one felt a cold sweat break out across their brow. Evolved? What does that mean? The devil turned away from them, a smirk twisting across his face. It means that they became something more than human. They became something that cannot be touched by darkness. Every trial they went through without becoming corrupt only added to the strength of the mark they carry. It's a divine protection, but it's also a reflection of their inner strength. The devil's eyes gleamed with a mixture of awe and reluctance. You see, when someone passes through fire and emerges unscathed when they maintain their purity, their light, despite all the attempts to break them, they gain something extraordinary. They become marked not by a curse, but by protection. And that protection isn't just physical, it's spiritual, cosmic. The law of Sevenfold applies to them, and it cannot be avoided. The desperate ones staggered backward, the weight of what they had done crashing down on them. Sevenfold, they whispered. What does that mean? The devil's voice deepened, filled with a chilling authority. It means that if anyone tries to harm this person, whether it's me or anyone else, the consequences will be 7 times worse than whatever was intended. If I were to strike them with one nightmare, I would face 7 nightmares in return. If I blocked one opportunity, 7 of mine would collapse. And if I caused one betrayal, 7 alliances of mine would fall apart. You understand this is not a simple matter of revenge, this is cosmic law. A deep silence fell between them. The desperate one was now shaking, overwhelmed by the power they had invoked, by the forces they had unleashed and failed to control. They had sought to destroy someone they believed was beneath them, someone they thought they could manipulate. But now, confronted by the truth, they realized that they had made a grave error. They had stepped into a battle they could never win. And the devil's words were not just warnings, they were prophecies of the consequences that would unfold. The law of Sevenfold was already in motion. It was no longer just a matter of the Chosen One's fate, it was about their own fate now. The devil's form seemed to shift his presence, becoming even more imposing. He stepped closer to the desperate one, his gaze locked onto theirs with a mixture of pity and disdain. Let me tell you something you'll never forget. The devil continued, his voice low and menacing. The law of Sevenfold doesn't just apply to me. It applies to anyone who dares to harm the one marked by divine protection. So if you think that you can escape the consequences of your actions, think again. The desperate one was barely able to speak. Their mind was reeling from the weight of the revelation. They had brought the devil to their door, hoping to manipulate the situation to their advantage, but instead they had invoked a force far greater than they could have understood. The devil leaned in his presence, overwhelming. Every time you try to harm this person, every time you think you can manipulate them, control them or destroy them, you'll feel the consequences. Every attempt you make to break them will only break you. It's not just a karmic law, it's divine justice. You don't get to play with forces you don't understand. And now, because you've tried to use me to harm someone who's protected by the law of Sevenfold, you're going to pay the price. The desperate one began to tremble, their heart racing in terror. What do you mean? What will happen to me? The devil's smirk deepened as he straightened up, turning his back on the desperate one. You'll see, he said coldly. The universe has its way of making sure that those who try to manipulate the chosen ones will be repaid in kind 7 times over. You're not just going to experience what you've done to them. You're going to experience it in full force. You've called me here and now, you'll be the one to pay. And with that, the devil began to disappear into the shadows, his presence receding like the ebbing tide. But as he left, he turned once more to face the desperate one, his eyes gleaming with a final warning. You've made a grave mistake, and now you'll watch as everything you've built collapses around you, 7 times worse. Mark my words. The room went cold. The candles flickered and extinguished, and the air returned to its normal stifling sounds. But the desperate one knew that the consequences had already begun. They had tried to manipulate the universe to control the chosen one, but instead they had unleashed something far greater than they could comprehend. The law of Sevenfold had been activated, and now there was no turning back. As the room slowly returned to a quiet stillness, the weight of the events that had just unfolded began to sink in. The desperate one, their mind racing and heart pounding, was left to face the consequences of their actions. The devil, once a towering, all-powerful figure in their eyes, had retreated, leaving only a lingering sense of dread and finality in his wake. Yet even as the devil disappeared into the shadows, a larger truth was still echoing in the air, one that carried with it a promise of divine justice and cosmic protection. The desperate one had sought to harm the chosen one out of jealousy, desperation, and a misguided desire for control, but in the end they had awakened something far more powerful than they could have ever imagined, a divine protection so profound, so ancient that even the Prince of Darkness himself was forced to acknowledge it. What they had sought to destroy they had only strengthened. What they had attempted to manipulate they had only made stronger. The mark of Cain. The evolved version that now resided upon the chosen one was not just a symbol of protection, it was a testament to the strength, resilience, and purity that had been forged through fire. And now, as the echoes of that dark ritual faded into the distance, the truth became undeniable. The chosen one was not a victim. They were not some helpless soul waiting to be consumed by darkness. No, they were warriors divinely protected, and their mission was far greater than anything the desperate one or any other force could comprehend. But before we delve into the significance of that truth, let us pause for a moment and reflect. The chosen one's journey is not one of simple survival. It is not just about enduring pain, betrayal, and hardship. It is about transformation. It is about evolving through the fire, maintaining purity and strength, and carrying out a mission far greater than oneself. Each trial faced by the chosen one was not a punishment but a preparation that led them to carry a divine mark of protection that no force, no matter how dark or powerful, could breach. Now I want to take you back to something important that was revealed earlier in the story. The desperate one had failed to recognize the true nature of the chosen one's mark. They saw it as a weakness, a target to manipulate. They believed that they could control it, twist it to their will. But the truth was that the mark of Cain, the mark that had been placed upon the chosen one, was not a curse, It was a divine seal, a protection, a weapon of cosmic law. It was a mark that screamed to the universe, this one is untouchable. This one is under the protection of something far greater than you can comprehend. And that's the power of divine protection. It operates not just in the physical realm, but in the spiritual and cosmic realms. It transcends time, space, and even the most powerful forces of darkness. And it is not based on mere chance or luck, it is based on purpose, on destiny, on the fulfillment of a mission that cannot be denied. The Chosen One was marked for a reason. Their life is not just about personal growth or survival, it is about fulfilling a greater purpose. They carry the light that can pierce through the darkness, and they are meant to shine in a world that desperately needs their light. As the devil himself explained, the Chosen One operates under a cosmic law, a law that is so powerful that even the most malevolent beings in existence must respect it. The law of sevenfold protection is not merely a concept. It is a divine principle, a law established by the Creator himself that ensures that any attempt to harm the Chosen One will result in consequences that are multiplied 7 times. Every betrayal, every attack, every manipulation, each will be met with an overwhelming force, an equal and opposite reaction magnified sevenfold. This law is not based on revenge, but on divine justice. It is a guarantee that those who try to harm the Chosen One will experience the very same consequences they sought to impose, only in a far more devastating form. And it's not just about the actions of one individual. The law extends beyond the reach of the devil. It applies to all who dare to interfere with the Chosen One's mission. Anyone who tries to curse them, sabotage them, or bring them harm will be met with a force so powerful that they will have no choice but to retreat. It is easy to look at the struggles faced by the Chosen One and view them as moments of weakness or failure. But in reality, each trial they face is a step closer to their ultimate victory. The pain, the betrayal, the loneliness, they are not signs of defeat. They are the very elements that strengthen the mark they carry. They are the crucible in which their strength is forged, the fire that tempers their spirit. And as they rise from each trial stronger and more resolute, the protection around them grows even more unshakable. So what does this mean for you, the one listening to this story? You might not be the chosen one in this particular tale, but there is a deeper truth that applies to all of us. Just like the Chosen One, you too are marked. You too are divinely protected. Your struggles, your hardships, your moments of pain and defeat, they are not the end of your story. They are simply the beginning. The universe, in all its vast complexity, has a purpose for you. You are not here by accident. You were chosen before the beginning of time, and you carry within you a divine spark, a mark that no force can take away. Perhaps you have faced moments of extreme difficulty, times when it seemed like the world was against you. Maybe you felt abandoned, betrayed, or lost. But let me tell you this, you are still here. You are still standing, and that is no small thing. That is the power of the mark you carry. That is the divine protection that has been placed upon your life, a protection that shields you from the forces that would seek to destroy you. But this protection is not just about survival, it is about purpose. You are here to fulfill a mission that transcends your individual life. You were not chosen to live a life of mediocrity or to play small. You were chosen to rise above, to shine in the face of darkness, and to carry out the work you were sent here to do. And as you walk this path, know this. The mark of divine protection that you carry is not just a shield, it is a weapon. It is the force that will carry you through every trial, every tribulation, and every challenge that comes your way. It is the force that will ensure that no matter how dark the world may seem, you will always rise again stronger than before. I want to leave you with this final thought. You are more than what you see in the mirror. You are more than the sum of your past struggles and your present challenges. You are a warrior under divine protection. You are part of a much greater plan. A plan that stretches across time and space, a plan that involves you fulfilling a mission that only you can accomplish. It's time to step into your destiny. It's time to stop hiding, to stop playing small, and to stop allowing the darkness of this world to define you. The mark you carry is your sign of divine purpose. It is your reminder that you are protected, that you are capable, and that you are here to make a difference. So rise, chosen one. Rise with the power that is yours by divine right. The world needs your light, and the universe has already ensured that nothing can extinguish it. Embrace your mission, embrace your power, and know that you walk with the protection of forces far greater than you can even begin to comprehend. The time for fear is over. The time for doubt is over. It is time to shine. As I bring this story to a close, I want to thank you for staying with me until the very end. Know that what you've learned here is just the beginning of your own journey. You're a chosen one marked for a purpose. The universe has invested in you. Now it's time for you to honour that investment and rise to the extraordinary destiny that awaits you. Take this knowledge with you. Walk forward with confidence, for you are divinely protected and nothing can stand in your way. The universe has your back, and it is in your hands to fulfill the mission you were born to complete. Go forth, chosen one. Your time has come.